Make sure you keep it on whenever you are on deck, Gabriel said, as he fastened Pissa's life vest. She insisted he did it. What's on deck? She asked, rubbing her antenna over Gabriel's suit. Didn't you pay any attention to the captain? Gabriel asked, tapping the girl on the head. They were boring, Pissa replied. Gabriel sighed. Stay with Mummy, me, Erela or Risotti all the time. Don't lean over the side of the boat, and no flying. I can't fly. Gravity is too big, Pissa replied. Is the young sailor all shipshape? Asked Captain Biotala. They're a species of quintupheads from the moon Oalobaruniatek. 2.5 meters tall at the shoulder, with multi-jointed legs giving them unusual flexibility for a life form of a skeleton. The face was bird-like, and the massive beak was strong enough to crush hard nuts and seeds like paper. Despite the avian face, they had no feathers or scales, but rather a short and dense covering of soft velvety fur. The first 2 legs had fingers, while the rear 3 had hooves, making them adept runners in the hilly terrain their ancestors had called home. About as good as we are ever going to be, though we'll probably have to keep an eye on this one, Gabriel replied, patting Pissa's head. Don't worry, I'm used to rambunctious children, never had a fatality yet, Biotala said, making a complicated motion with their hands. I would certainly hope so, retorted Gabriel. Now, who wants to help me get this vessel out of port? Biotala asked Pista, crashing down to Pista's level. Ha! Pista replied, dashing to the helm. No idea what that means, Biotala said, before following the young girl. Don't press anything unless Captain Biotala says so, Nish commanded from the deck. Okay, Pista replied, turning the wheel back and forth. Biotala's boat, Faithful Steed, was a sailboat, 40 feet in length. The amenities were functional but limited. The whole purpose of this voyage was being on the boat itself. They would sail along the coast towards Brekchu, spotting local wildlife and getting hands-on with the vessels running. They were still passengers, though, and any work was entirely optional. Gabriel sat down on the deck. The sky was clear, with not a cloud in sight. He supposed that was good sailing weather. Are you going to be all right? Asked Nish. It was aimed at Gabriel, but the question was also for Erela. Yeah, we have got a private bathroom, so if I need to get out of the suit, I can always go there, Gabriel replied. As the Biotala unmoored the ship, wrapping the rope around that hook Gabriel did not know the name of. What about you? You seem less than thrilled about the idea of being at sea, he asked, standing up and watching the harbour mouth. Bordering the northeastern side was a lighthouse. Gabriel could see people standing at the top, watching him, just as he watched them. He waved at them, and after a few seconds they waved back, though Gabriel got the distinct impression that they were slightly confused by the gesture. My people don't do well in the water, Nish replied, getting up herself and waving at the people, though it felt strange to do it as a greeting, and not to say sorry. I read somewhere that Defender float very well, even with waterlogged wings, Gabriel said, looking at her. Yeah, that's the point. We just float there, like a dreamer, Nish explained, using an analogy Gabriel would understand. Pista swam when she was in the enclosure, Gabriel countered, pointing at the girl, who was currently steering the boat, carefully observed at all times by Biotala. I would hardly call that splashing swimming, Nish stated, surprised by how casually she mentioned it. She was recovering well from the stress, though she still got the occasional nightmare. Pista, on the other hand, refused to sleep alone. It was okay for now, but as she got older, it might present a problem. She would discuss it with Erela if she got the chance. I can see how that would be distressing, Gabriel replied. Distressing? Talk about terrifying. Tofanda are meant to move. A stationary Tofanda is a dead Tofanda, retorted Nish, turning back to the sea. Where's Erela and Risotti anyway? She asked, looking up and down the deck. Gabriel repeated the action and said, Not sure, and I've not seen them since we boarded, and Biotala gave us the safety rundown. Nish buzzed. I think I know why she was so keen to be at sea, and it wasn't to observe the ocean or the wildlife within it. Gabriel looked at her but said nothing. She wanted to join the Mile Out Club, Nish added, trilling as she did. Couldn't that bloody woman at least wait till night time? Gabriel said, shaking his head. Sometimes I wonder if that's all she thinks about. Returning to the previous line of conversation, Gabriel said, So, I take it you won't be joining Risotti, Erela and me in the swimming portions of the trip? I might dip my toes, but no. You can have all the fun to yourselves, Nish replied, stepping back as an errant wave splashed the side of the boat, sending spray onto the deck. You could have gotten us a bigger ship, Erela said, lying on a bunk in their shared bedroom. This was the largest one my package covered. I wasn't splurging my entire compensation just so you could eat in the custom kitchen, Gabriel replied, eating a pre-made sandwich Biotala provided. Though sandwich was not accurate, considering its materials were not Terran in origin, still it was the best fit, and Gabriel was not learning a million names for moderately different foods. "You could have told me ahead of time," Eola protested, hunched over at the foot of her bed, eating a salad. "If you had been with us instead of making out with Rosati, you would have known that," Gabriel countered, shaking his head. "You're just jealous," stated Eola, shoveling more of her meal into her mouth. "You're going to choke," Gabriel said, glancing over at her. Eola hissed, but this was not a sign of aggression. Instead, it was equivalent to a human rolling their eyes. Gabriel's prophecy came true, though, as a chunk of meat went down the wrong hole, and Eola began to cough. "Told you," Gabriel said, standing behind the plonner Clint and snapping it back. Luckily for Eola, the obstruction was removed quickly, and despite the occasional coughing fit, she recovered. "Quite the softy, aren't you?" said Eola, clearing her throat. "I guess that's what Nish likes about you. Pista too," she added. "I would hope so. One should always endeavour to be kind," Gabriel said, sitting back down in his bed. Eola hissed again. "What?" Gabriel asked. "Remember when you asked how someone so smart could do something so stupid?" asked Eola, pointing at her leg. "Yes," stated Gabriel. "Well, right back at you," Eola said. "What are you going on about?" asked Gabriel. He liked people to be straightforward with their questions and statements, not to beat around the bush. "I'm pretty sure Nish likes you. You know, likes you," Eola explained, keeping it as simple as possible. Gabriel stared at her for a few moments before replying. "Impossible. Remember, she told us that Tofanda do not engage in romantic relationships." Eola snorted and said, "No, she said Tofanda males and females rarely partner, and you're not a Tofanda male, I think." "Look, before we argue back and forth about technicality, let me shoot the whole thing down with one bulletproof point," Gabriel said, folding his arms. "Fine, fire away," Eola replied, taking another bite from her dinner. "Let's just run with what you were saying is true. She's a paradise welder, and I'm a habitable welder. I cannot even kiss her without her going into anaphylactic shock. So how would any relationship work?" Gabriel stated. "That's the thing some species do when you put your lips together," pushing her two index fingers together. "I'm sure you two could find a way," Eola said, pointing at Gabriel. Rubbing the bridge of his nose, Gabriel sighed before replying. "Eola, you are reading far too much into it. You just drop it, please." Eola waved her tail from side to side and said, "Fine. I'll drop this conversation, but you can't deny that you enjoy spending time with her." "I never said I didn't, but that does not automatically make me attracted to her," Gabriel responded. "You are quite the romantic," he added. The atmosphere in the room settled quickly once Eola stopped pushing. "What can I say? I'm just a little princess who wants to be my knight in shining armour, one with super smooth brow ridges," Eola replied, holding her tail up and chuckling. "And just like that you ruined it. I'm going back onto the deck before you barrage my ears with more filth," Gabriel said, finishing off the last of his sandwich, getting into his suit, and leaving the room to enjoy a relaxing period in decontamination. Once Eola was confident that Gabriel could not hear her, she said, Gabriel, what happened to you? Why didn't you like letting people in?" Gabriel might have simply been an extremely private person, but Eola was not so sure. He seemed to generally enjoy his days out with them, even if he was the introverted type. If Eola was reading him right, Gabriel appeared to be trying his hardest not to get attached. Not the most unreasonable response, Eola supposed. There was a very good chance they would never see one another after their time on Minigrab was done. Getting too attached could be painful, though judging from the bags under his eyes, there was more to it.